Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to You Got Me Monologuing. I'm Tony.
I'm Joey.
I'm Grognard Todd.
And we've got we're going to pour one out for our homie who's
We didn't die.
his mom went to Italy, so he's making sure that his dad is well taken care of. So Pasquale is indisposed today. Wanted to get a couple more of these in. We got Gen Con next week. I don't know if we'll do this next Tuesday night or not. That's going to depend on how prepared I am to drive to Indianapolis Wednesday morning, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah. And I already got that weekend off work, so we're good to go.
All right. And Todd's going to come hang out for a day with us at least.
Yeah, I kind of blew my wad at the trade day gamma show for stores this year.
Right.
That was my vacation. Whether or not I had fun is another matter altogether, but that was the time I'd allotted, so I spent that at the trade show this year instead of at Gen Con. So I'll go down for a day, probably just hang out, check the the hall for a day or day and a half or whatever, and have some drinks Saturday night, and
we'll be glad to have you.
Call it a day. But back in the day,
Yeah.
you used to be able to buy one-day tickets. Can you still buy one-day tickets for Gen Con?
You can.
I mean, if I'm going for 2 days, generally it makes more sense just to buy a
weekend
badge, probably.
I don't
That's usually
think-
how the math works. But
I don't think that's really the case much anymore.
yeah, I don't know. I have to look. I haven't even looked at it this year at all, so I'm a little behind the curve. Just been busy with stuff, generally speaking. But
Yeah. What's funny is I went through last week. I went through my time off from work. I factored in. I'm like, okay, I got Gen Con, and then I take the week off between Christmas and New Year's. And I looked at my calendar. I'm like, I've got 9 more days of vacation I need to take before the end of the year, in addition to those 2 weeks. So I'm gonna find days here and there, and I think I'm gonna end up taking another week off in September just to take it.
And I'm gonna have to try and talk to my manager about applying some of my paid time off to the Gen Con trip.
You get paid time off now.
I already had it. I just wasn't using it before, mainly because I didn't know how.
Those are important things to know how to do. And
Yeah.
Hi, Deb. Welcome. Glad to have you.
Hey, Deb.
Derpa Deb. Your package should be arriving tomorrow.
Wait, they sent another one?
No, I sent one out.
Oh.
They bought a couple of plinths, and I sent them sent Deb a nice little gift on top of that. I got something that I'm trying out, and I'll probably bring in the store once I get some stickers made. Making my
Sweet.
own turf for basing materials. So I figure I've got gallons of sawdust. I might as well put it to use. So anyway,
gallons? Is that the appropriate measurement for sawdust?
in this case it is, because it gets
You mean
sucked up.
gallon jugs?
Oh, it's
Or
16,
gallon there
16-gallon shop vac. I've got about
there you
8
go.
gallons worth of sawdust.
It just sounded funny the way you said that. I've got
And that
gallons
is
of
8
sawdust.
gallons too many.
It would be like I don't know what an equivalent would be, but it just sounded funny.
I know, yeah. Well, I mean, you would think, a couple of ounces, because that could be either volumetric or
Right.
it could be weight.
Right.
I don't know what to call it. It's just, it's a bunch of sawdust is what it is. That's really loud in my ears. The weird thing is this volume for the headphones, if I don't have it placed just right, it only one of the ears goes out. I don't know what it is. It's just this one spot on the dial that my left ear stops working.
Strange.
It is. See, there it is.
I wonder if that's the older pair of headphones.
No, it's the board. Buttload. Buttload works. So how was everybody else's week?
All right.
Nothing.
Peachy.
Yes.
Nothing too special happened.
Peachy keen.
I totally meant to do some hobbying over the weekend. I'm working on that speeder truck and lighting it up, and I got nothing done this weekend, mainly because the thunderstorms had Jake in a tizzy on Saturday night, to the point where I ended up sleeping in my chair in the basement for about 3 hours, because when he was in our room, he was on the bed between Heather and I, with his butt was between Heather and I, his head was turned along the headboards right up on mine, and every time he heard something, he'd pick his head up and start panting and drooling on my face.
Oh no!
So I didn't have fun with that. So
Excuse me.
Good times.
I got nothing done.
Let's see. I beat the main campaign of Borderlands 3. That was pretty fun.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess that's a video game.
Yep, it's
See how I figured that out?
because that's all I'd play.
Well, it's because it's Borderlands. That sounds like a video game.
It's kind of like if you combine Mad Max and Blade Runner, and you're playing as Indiana Jones.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I played a video game recently.
What'd you play?
I played Warhammer 40K Battle Sectors.
I've actually heard
Xbox.
that's pretty good.
So, because I'm old and I'm old school,
Yeah.
I like turn-based games.
Right.
I'm not as big into the RTS as the kids are. See? Are you impressed that I knew what that is?
Real-time strategy,
Yeah.
I
There
you
guess.
go.
Yeah.
Well, but to be fair, back in the Warcraft, Starcraft, Command and Conquer days,
Yeah.
I was all about the real-time strategy.
Yeah, I played Warcraft when it was on the PlayStation, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I never really got into. I played StarCraft on the computer, years after it had come out, and it was fine. But I never really got into those kind of games. But yeah, I like the. I'm gonna set up all my guys. I mean, it's just like Panzer Leader and Panzer Blitz and Panzer General and Panzer whatever, the World War II ones. It's the same idea, right? It's just
Right.
that they use the same machine. They don't call it a machine. What do they call it? Engine. They call it the same engine for all those games. It's just they put a 40K skin over it, and instead of Germans and Soviets, you've got Space Marines and Tyranids, and so those games are fun for me. I like playing those.
The only games I'd say that I've played that were real-time strategy, and this is a bit of a stretch, were the Knights of the Old Republic games.
Those are role-playing games.
Well, I mean,
games.
the combat is real-time strategy because
No, a real-time strategy game is usually like a top-down view. You're not getting a first or third-person view of an individual unit, but rather you're looking over the entire map, and you're looking over a battlefield and commanding. In a real-time strategy game, you'll grab 12 units at a time and say go here, and these 12 units go there and attack this point. That's usually what a real-time strategy game. That's still it's kind of a hack and slash feature of an MMO or of a role.
It's like kind of like Diablo,
right?
MMO. Wait, do you think I mean Star Wars: The Old Republic?
No. I meant real RPG. MMORPG is just three words too many. Forget that I said MMO. It's an RPG. It's a role-playing
massively
game.
multiplayer online.
I just want to make sure we're talking about the same game,
We are talking about the same game. Yes, I know what you're talking
Same
about.
idea. It's just not a. It's just not an MMO.
Right.
Otherwise, it's the same idea.
So
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, I did not much of
and
anything.
And I play Fallout, so
Yeah.
Fallout 4.
You and Brett, that's one of his favorite games of all time too.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's see what else. Anything? I mean, literally, I did not. I worked. I did a lot of work. The problem is I'm abandoning my team right at the pivotal point in our testing cycle. I'm like, bye, I'm out for a week. So I've been spending a lot of time. What up, Snow? How you doing? Getting my work in a place where I can hand it over to somebody else. Other than that, not much. I spent a lot of the weekend when I was conscious following the news coming out of San Diego Comic-Con for everything.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, let's
talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. First thing we're going to talk about is the company that doesn't know how to promote themselves or what the hell they're doing. Let's talk a little bit about DC. I know
It's hurtful but true.
it is. It's hurtful. It is because and the reason I want to bring this up first is to showcase how not to do it. So we can talk about how a company did it right with Marvel. Because DC showed up, and the one thing they did really cool was they brought The Rock with them, and they put him in the full costume and did a whole Shazam and thunder and lightning on the screen, and that was pretty cool.
Nice.
Then he does a quick change, and they talk about the movie for 20 minutes, show a trailer, then they talk about Shazam, the new Shazam movie, and that trailer, both those trailers.
The first Shazam was fun.
I'm looking forward to it, but that's all they talked about were the two movies that they've got coming out by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. There was no excitement for anything new. There were no new announcements. There was
we didn't even get anything for the new Aquaman.
Right. There was no information on Aquaman, no information on the Flash, no information on the Batgirl movie. All these things
There's a
that
Batgirl movie?
Yeah, it's in production. Exactly.
Learn something new every day. Like, I think it kind of makes sense that they were, like, avoiding anything about, like, Aquaman or The Flash, namely just because of the whole Amber Heard and Ezra Miller situations.
Yeah, but you can and the Flash I get, because that's a messed up situation, because DC brass, they're going to be like, we've spent what, 150 million on this movie, we're not just going to shit can it, but this guy is such a dirtbag, how do we promote around him?
You really can't.
Amber Heard is another story, because there are plenty of other elements within Aquaman that you can promote. You could bring Jason Momoa and you could talk about it.
I mean,
you could.
Sure, but there would probably be like a Q&A section, and someone would inevitably ask about it.
No, that's the thing. They ask about it backstage, but it doesn't happen on stage. They don't have to do a Q&A. Yeah, what Joey said regarding Ezra, they agree. But they didn't generate any excitement for anything new. It's like, hey, by the way, we're going to give you a 30-minute commercial for a preview of a movie you already knew that was coming. So here's the new trailer, guys. Thanks. Peace. We're out. That's not it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
doesn't do much for you.
No, it's like going to Adepticon and hearing Games Workshop say, and now Space Marines.
Which they did. So that was great. Hey, Horus Heresy, the game that's been out for 15 years. It's coming out again. Yay, more Space Marines.
Yeah.
So same thing.
And Horus Heresy is nothing but Space Marines.
It's all Space Marines.
Or it's like if at E3, the guys at CD Projekt Red show up and are like, here's stuff for the expansions and hotfixes for Cyberpunk 2077, and the people are just like, give us Witcher 4 info.
Right. Yeah. You need to do something. You don't spend the kind of money that these companies spend to go to these conventions and then crap the bed.
Right. Honestly, I think it might just be that Warner Brothers has lost a lot of faith in DC's current management or something.
And that's a distinct possibility. It really is, but that's nobody's fault except for Warner Entertainment. What they really need, and what they thought they had their Kevin Feige in
Zack
Snyder, and people just didn't respond to it the way. I mean, the movie's made money, but even Justice League, you watch the re-edit. Was it better? Sure. Was it good? No. It still wasn't good because they still misunderstand the characters. So yeah, I'm volunteering myself. You want someone who's going to do these characters right? I've got a 10-movie arc for Green Lantern alone.
I thought it was good.
Bring in Matt Reeves.
And I wonder, when it comes to DC versus Marvel, they're trying. The problem is Marvel's been so popular and done so well. If they do the same thing or even something similar, now they get all the criticism for just copying Marvel. Oh, you're just doing the same thing Marvel's doing. And obviously, hey, if it works, then on some level you should do it. And there's no excuse, like you said, for not at least talking about the new stuff. You don't have to do it in the same format that Marvel always does, right? But you wonder how much of that is, hey, we can't do the same thing that the Marvel verse is. We have to do something different in a different way.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you do nothing then, you know what I mean?
But if you take a look at it, the movies that have done the best for them, you take a look at Aquaman, Shazam, and Wonder Woman. No. What's the one element that all three of those movies have in common? They're fun.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
They're fun. They're not super dark and gritty. I
should say it's that they managed to find a good balance between actual drama and the humor.
Yes.
Because Wonder Woman 84 is all right, but little too goofy, you know?
I think it wasn't the best script for that one.
That too.
But you're going to have hits and misses, and we'll talk about that later today too. We're talking about some Marvel stuff here coming up. But Zack Snyder's vision took it all so grimdark and seriously. It was like the 40K of superhero movies. Right. Everything had to be so dour and dark and brooding. There was no.
But I am dour and dark and brooding, and I like those things.
He was trying to start up Injustice right as actual Injustice. Superman was becoming a thing.
Right.
But I like all those things. I like those movies.
I do too, in the right context.
They don't appeal to the lowest common denominator, which is the argument against all the Marvel stuff, right? And especially with the new Thor, like, geez Louise, man, that thing was just all goofy all the time.
Yeah.
The best part about it was the most grimdark part of it, and like Joey says, balance is probably the best thing. Best thing. There was no balance in that movie whatsoever.
No, there wasn't.
It was totally the opposite direction. Which, I get. You don't want, if you're trying to make the most money from a studio's perspective, probably balanced. But you can argue artistically or otherwise whether or not some of these movies are good or bad. Obviously, it's all 100%, subjective. But,
of course.
Yeah.
But, like the Batman, I really, really like that movie.
I do too.
Boy, that
Very
was not a happy movie on any level.
Yeah,
wasn't.
that was more meant for, like, and there was like a little bit of humor, but that's more like the sort of dry humor. Like,
not
you got
goofy,
a lot of cats.
not goofy rock boy face on the ground talking, right?
Right.
I mean, and the Joker with what's his face,
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin. I mean, oh my god, I love that movie. I thought that movie was art. Like, I really, really liked that movie.
I will agree with you. I will. I still have problems with it from the comic perspective.
Yeah, I could care less about the comic perspective.
And I
I am
completely
not
get
looking
that.
at it on any level as a comic book movie. That is just a movie, in my opinion.
It was Matt Reeves. It was it Matt Reeves that did that? No, who did the Joker?
I'll look it
I
up.
don't have any idea. But
It was his. He even said he wanted to do a Taxi Driver movie, and that's
Right.
exactly what he gave us.
Right.
The issue, the umbrage that I take with it isn't in the story that was told. It was, I don't want to feel sympathy for the Joker.
Todd Phillips.
Thank you. I don't want to. Sometimes I don't want an empathetic character or a sympathetic character to be my villain. Sometimes I just want evil people to be evil for no reason other than they're evil. Not he's having a mental breakdown. Not you're just an evil dude. You're sometimes, and because in the comics that's what makes him the most scary, right? He has no empathy for anybody else. Why should anyone have any sympathy for him? And that's the only, by naming it the Joker and placing that character on it, it's almost like, well, it's like Darth Vader turning him into an emo kid in the prequels. It's like, well, now you kind of feel sympathy for him. I don't want to feel sympathy for all of my bad guys. And that's the only thing.
And like, but there are definitely still some villains in the movies nowadays where you aren't supposed to feel sympathy for them. Hell, look at Hela in Ragnarok. You were absolutely not supposed to like her. Well, you're supposed to love to hate her. You're not supposed to actually like her.
Right. No, you're 100% right. It's like I said, sometimes when you put a comic book, some of these things would be great if it's like, how do I put this? Metallica's Load would have been a great album if it was put out by any band other than Metallica.
I like that album too. So I'm just contrarian. I don't know. Yeah, I think it is.
Get it? That okay?
I think the comic book versus non-comic book point of view is an interesting one. And I will tell you, and I mean, I guess everybody, I don't have to tell you, everybody knows, especially the MCU, most of the people who watch MCU movies aren't comic book fans. So they may know of the comics. I mean, most people know that Spider-Man is a comic book, right? Or they know Captain America or all the heroes. They know that they're comic books, but they're not comic book fans.
Right.
I mean, we know that, right? And so, to bring it back to the MCU or MCU versus DC, the MCU recognizes that, and they will pay lots of fan service to people who are into comic books. I mean, look at Stan Lee being in every movie until he passed away, right? I mean, that's the fan service of all fan services.
Well, but not only that, they keep it accessible because
they keep it accessible, which is exactly what I'm saying. For sure.
Give me a second, Joe. Sorry. It was always Stan Lee's philosophy when he was in charge of the company that every comic book is somebody's first. So you have to keep it. Can't be all in jokes, and it can't be you have to keep it accessible to anybody. And that's why I say it's one of the things that I love that Marvel has done well. Do you have to have followed every movie to understand what's going on in each one? Well, you kind of needed to see Infinity War before Endgame,
right,
but you could watch Infinity War and have most of that movie stand
and
on
still have a good
its
time
own.
watching it,
Yeah.
and it makes most of the sense.
Yeah.
You know, those ending movies, maybe not as much as obviously the earlier movies, but,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure. And I think you know, I don't know if you look at the DC movies if they have that same sensibility or not. You think they would want to. I mean, obviously they're just trying to make money, so
Right.
they're not trying to make a hardcore comic book movie. And then you look at, you know, the Batman, and you look at Joker. Those are clearly, it's the opposite, right? They're kind of making a movie assuming that you're not a comic book guy, right? So,
But there are
and they don't care so much about the in jokes, especially the Joker, right?
The Joker, I mean, the Joker was kind of its own thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It was Todd Phillips wanting to do this, and he had an idea for the Joker. Okay, great. And honestly, if they had left out every bit of Bruce Wayne in that movie, I'd have
Right.
been completely fine with it.
Right.
It's kind of what turned me off to Gotham eventually, because Gotham was supposed to be about Jim Gordon and the villains, building up, but they kept coming back to Bruce Wayne, and
Yeah,
I'm
right.
like, I don't care what this 13-year-old has to say.
Right.
Talk to me when you're Batman. Let me see everything else
Right,
up to
right.
that.
Yeah, like they were kind of trying to do what they originally did with Smallville, build up to him becoming Batman. But
Right.
they didn't do it quite as well because he wasn't in full focus.
Right. But the thing is, in Smallville, Clark Kent was the main focus of that show. The monster of the week and him coming to grip with his power.
Mm-hmm.
The main character was Ben McKenzie's Jim Gordon in Gotham.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kept taking more and more of the focus away from him and putting more and more focus on Bruce Wayne. I'm like, stop that. Send him off to send him off to Europe and go back to your original vision. But you're right. But the Batman had enough great stuff that had enough great comic references. Because let's be honest, without the comic book fans,
Right.
You don't have the properties that make these movies go.
Right.
And without the
Yeah, that's
comic
why
book
it's kind
fans,
of a weird balance, right?
So, and even going back, let's go back to Endgame, right? There was plenty of good humor where it didn't take itself super seriously.
Mm-hmm.
That is America's ass. I mean, how many of us
Right.
were talking about America's ass from that one just little quippy line,
Mm-hmm.
but it didn't go into the kind of hyper hijinks that they've been doing with Thor
Right.
between Ragnarok and now Love and Thunder. And while I enjoyed Love and Thunder, and we're going to get into that, we're going to talk about that here a little bit more. I did enjoy it, but I thought there were there's not taking yourself too seriously and then not taking yourself at all seriously. And I think Taika kind of steered hard into, we're not taking this seriously.
Yeah. And real quick, you mentioned like Endgame sort of meeting that balance. I feel like there were a few moments in there where they were throwing in like the quips when they probably shouldn't have, like when they should have kept it a little more serious. Like the main stick out for me is like when Thor was trying to convince everyone else that he should be the one to use the gauntlet, and he's like, "What do you think is coursing through my veins right now?" And then War Machine just pipes up, "Cheese whiz." Like,
But that was a perfect moment. But when I say balance, I'm not talking. You've got to have those individual quirky moments, but it's always balanced out. I mean, in that movie, you balance that. Let's say we balance that scene with Tony and Howard Stark, and that conversation about being a father. You took those moments of levity, but they're balanced with moments of depth, of character development. I don't feel that Thor as a character developed any at all. And we lose Jane Foster. Spoiler alert, by the way. Spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're on a podcast.
That's okay. Sorry. Spoiler alerts, everybody.
It's been out for weeks.
Sorry, we kind of spoiled something for someone in the store.
oh well.
No, I'm not going to say oh well, but oh well.
Been out for weeks.
You just said you were gonna say it.
Shh, hush. I don't feel there was enough depth to those characters. The exception being, let's just jump right into this movie.
Yeah.
That opening sequence with Gore was spectacular.
My God, Christian Bale absolutely killed that role.
You didn't think so?
I
Explain
love
yourself.
Christian Bale. I felt that they took what could have been some of the coolest character in Gore that they've had in a while, like super cool, and they jammed his origin story into a cold open. Like, when the TV show starts, you got the cold open, and then it's dun dun, and then you get the Law and Order, whatever.
Right.
In every TV show you've ever watched in your entire life, I felt like that was the cold open, and then you had the Led Zeppelin music play, and then Thor killing stuff. It's like I felt so
Actually,
cheated.
it was Guns N' Roses.
whatever it was, right? So I feel so
Secret eyes.
I felt cheated by that, and
Sure.
it was cool. Like I got it. Like I totally understood what they were doing. I did like the very beginning when with his daughter, and that had some pathos to it, and that was good.
Yeah.
And I liked where that went eventually. And I'm not saying I needed a 15-minute video of them slogging through the desert. But I mean, if you watch, and they did portray the feeling 100%. Like I got it. Like and I had watched. I never read the comic, but I did watch some videos about who that character was ahead of time. Just I had in the past year anyway, not necessarily prepping for this movie or anything. But so I knew what the story was, and I had seen the comics, and there's a lot there, right? And other than they did a good enough job portraying his misery, and then in his little monologue there at the end when he found the goofy looking god, the Dionysus
Eternity.
style god, and he said, "F you, I don't care about you peons." Like that was a little eye rolly and a little heavy handed, and it was rushed and a little goofy, and I got it, and it was. You know what it felt like to me? It felt like in Jurassic Park when they get on the ride and the little micro or mitochondria guy,
Mr. DNA.
gives you the explanation for what's going on. That's what it felt like to me.
Honestly,
Like necessary, and I got it, and they had to do it for the story, and they did just enough so that they could move on to the story, and I felt kind of robbed by, boy, that's a really interesting character. I'd like to know just a little bit more, or maybe see one other thing than him his daughter dying in the desert.
But,
right?
and here's where I'll counter with that, because one of the greatest Pixar movies did the exact same thing and had me crying in the first 5 minutes of the damn movie.
Up.
With Up. They set up that entire movie in that first 5 minute montage. And it had incredible weight and incredible pathos.
I don't deny that, but like, and then he got this sword that can kill gods. Moving on, like what? Where did this sword come from? What the heck is this? What is it made of? Where did it come from? Who made it? What's going on here? Oh, it's just a guy that had it. Now I have it. Now I'm killing gods. Like that was dumb. Like that made me angry. Like I knew I knew just a little bit about that story.
Right.
And that's a really cool story. And I was like, give me 2 minutes on that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, and then it tumbled from the whatever, and then so and so got it. And it's actually a symbiote, and whatever the case may be. Like, give me some of that. But then I understand why they didn't, because then that opens up another whole ball of worms, or ball of worms, ball of wax, can of worms.
Can of worms.
I'm mixing my metaphors there, but
opens up a can of wax.
So it was fine, and I get why they do it. And then they immediately launch into the goofiness that is Thor, which I thought was fun and interesting. I don't even know it was interesting. It was fun.
Yeah,
it was goofy. The goats were hysterical. I laughed out loud multiple times.
Yes.
But
I thought the Guardians of the Galaxy were absolutely wasted. There was no
wasted.
point in
all
them
of the
being
characters
there.
were totally just thin. Even Valkyrie, who we knew a little bit about, right? And now we're seeing her in her as a executive or as a bureaucrat,
right?
Which she absolutely hated, which I totally get.
Yep.
Like that was super heavy-handed and then paper thin, and then Jane comes back, and it's like, with the whole, the sickness and stuff. And again, I kind of knew that story, so I kind of figured where that was going to go,
right?
Which they did, but then that was handled very poorly, and I thought I didn't even think she did a very good job of her performance, and they didn't explain any of the stuff with Mjolnir, and they didn't explain any of the stuff with really why she got better or not better, and anyway, a lot of that I just found very disappointing. I wasn't angry. I didn't not have a good time. I just was disappointed. I'm like, they could have done so much more with this story.
Yeah, because they've done with all their other stuff and with so many of their other movies, you get I think they, like you said, they steered so heavily into the comedy that they forgot that, hey, we need to balance this.
There's some good story and
Yeah.
some good character stuff they could have done there, and I sound a little bit like a comic guy talking like that because, like I said, I knew some of the backstory. Well, forget any of that backstory. If none of that backstory existed, I would still feel that way because I felt like, well, why is this God being so pernicious? Or that's not a word. Anyway, whatever word I'm trying to say.
A-hole-ish?
Being a-hole-ish, right?
Honestly,
Why was that God being such a jerk? Like I didn't really understand. Where did this sword come from? What's going on with Jane? Valkyrie was really not very. Anyway, my point is, if I didn't know any of the comic backstory, I think I would feel the same way. What were you gonna say, Joe?
I actually do kind of like how that God was a massive jerk.
He was a massive jerk. I mean, they got that point across very
Because,
clearly.
I mean,
there was no doubt there.
if you've got all that power, it makes sense you would be super egotistical and like laughing in the face of this dude who was praying for help, and it's just like, huh, dude, I'm like all powerful. Why would I help you? Like, and like especially because if he resisted, you could just play him alive or whatever.
And he paid the price for that arrogance. It's, but you're right. It was heavy-handed. It's turning him into that big of a jerk and that it was a way of getting through that scene quickly without having to build any sort of real anger or real
history
or pathos.
He said, in that monologue, we've worshipped you for forever, and my people have now died worshiping you, and I'm the last one. And why do you forsake us? And he says, I don't care. Like, okay, that totally got the entire point across in one sentence, right? That absolutely did.
In three little words.
That's
right.
all they
I don't
needed,
care.
right? They didn't need to do anything else to get that point across, which I totally got, and that's why they did it that way. But it just kind of made me disappointed. I just kind of went, oh, I kind of would like a little bit more about those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if they had built, you take the 15 minutes of Thor getting his god bod back, and that whole
Opening scene.
bullshit scene
Right.
The
with the
Guardians.
Guardians and the wrecking of that. It's like that, and showing that Thor doesn't care. Thor is like every other god. He's like, well, I'm just going to go out here and help these people because I can, and I don't care about the consequences of my actions because I'm a god. Well, maybe they should have killed Thor because of that attitude. Maybe Gore should have won in that case.
Honestly, I would have liked to have seen more action scenes from Gore, because like we hear about him like going around the galaxy butchering all these gods, but we don't actually get to see it. Like, if they had just thrown in like a single action scene where like he actually goes up against Sif and her forces, and we actually see how she loses the arm.
Show
That
me.
would've been cool.
Show me he's a badass. Don't just tell me he's a
tell.
badass.
Yeah,
Give me a little
exactly.
bit. Oh, there's this giant, enormous, mountain-sized god that Gore slayed with this magical sword for some reason that kills gods. We have no clue how that happened or why that happened or what's going on, other than that was a god who was a representation of whatever it was, right? The mountains or the world or the nature or whatever he was. So
Plus, then we get more Sif. That's a plus.
something along those lines. And even at the end, then when they are fighting him, he still was like he's using magic and illusion and darkness and
And the shadow creatures and all that.
yeah, and some of that was kind of cool. Like I got that. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
The first battle scene was neat when the shadows are coming or the monsters are coming out of the shadows. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Then they kept doing it, and then I'm like, show me that Gore's a badass. Like, I don't know. I thought that character had a lot of potential, and I love Christian Bale, but I kind of feel like they dropped the ball with that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So end of it all, I found myself entertained, but it was, what was it? I was entertained, but not fulfilled. How's that?
Right? Unsatisfied.
I was unsatisfied.
Yeah.
I mean, it tasted good, but somehow I'm still
I'm
hungry.
still hungry.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
It-
Good way to put it.
It's like having Chinese food at lunch. I was hungry a couple
hungry.
hours later.
Fuck.
I just want. I wanted a little bit more out of it.
Yeah.
I think because I used to be a fervent Thor reader. I haven't been in the last 20 years. I really haven't read much, so I've kept up on it. Like you, I know about Gore. I know
Right.
about the Jane Foster, but I never read those books.
I'm
But
kind of curious as to what Thor's outfits were like in the comics, like more recently.
you saw them all as Thor was running, and they
he
running
had all of them, right? Yeah.
right.
Some of that was
But
kind of fun.
it's just it's tough for me to see a character that he was the one who had no sense of humor in the comics, right?
Yeah, right.
You go back to the book when I was reading, in the 80s, reading the 70s, 80s, early 90s. I shall have at thee.
Right, yeah,
He was the living Renaissance fair, and,
Right.
everything was so deadly serious with him, and he was always angry. And now they've just gone, well, he's my half brother.
Right.
And, they found that Chris Hemsworth has good comedic timing.
Right.
And they just
super charismatic, the whole thing, right?
and so they took a character. Watch him in Endgame. Watch him in Infinity War.
I'll watch him in Ragnarok.
No, because in Ragnarok, he was too jokey. Oh, hang on. I'm turning around here. I'll be around in just a minute.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, right.
that's what I'm saying. They took a very serious character, and you look at him that whole time after I went for the head this time. What did you do? I went for the head. He wasn't making a joke there. He was being deathly serious, and Thor needs a little bit. He doesn't have to be that all the time.
And they gave that role to Drax.
Yes.
Right.
And even in Infinity War, in that bit where they were traveling to Nidavellir, and he was having that conversation with Rocket about how he lost everything, so he doesn't care if he goes out fighting Thanos because he doesn't have much left.
Yeah. I'm kind of with Big Snow here. You know what? At this point, give me Beta Ray Bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Give me some Beta Ray Bill. Let him take over the God of Thunder role. It would have been cool to see Jane Foster maybe wield the hammer for, maybe another movie or so before she passed it back, because I think that there could be a lot of real potential. Giving Natalie Portman the ability to just carry that movie, not have to share the limelight. I think that could have been something interesting.
Yeah.
But I want Chris Hemsworth to just step back from the ledge a little bit. He doesn't have to go away. Just rein it in a little bit. I don't need any more.
He doesn't need to be Robert Downey Jr., right?
Yeah.
Let's be more Thor and less Iron Man.
But even Robert Downey Jr., when he was being quippy, when he was had a sharp tongue,
Right.
and it was a fast hitting. It's like he just threw it out there, but what they've done with Thor, what Taika Waititi's done with Thor, and I did love Ragnarok because it was a change of pace. But if that becomes the pace, I don't want that to be the pace
Right.
all the time.
Right.
I want that to be a fun little interlude. And to be perfectly honest, so rumors have been swirling for a couple of weeks that we're building toward World War Hulk at some point.
Ooh.
But
That could be
Korg
interesting.
was an integral part of World War Hulk. And they gave them to Thor, and he became the comedic sidekick, Yeah, he's just there to tell me a story, mate.
Yeah.
He was a badass warrior in those comics.
Right,
He was enslaved. I'm like, how do you bring Korg and Meek into the war bond after what they've done to him in these movies?
Right.
Does it bother anyone else that with all the Marvel movies, they give so much time to irrelevant characters? For instance, why focus on Hawkeye and Black Widow when there are characters in play that can smash whole armies by thinking of it? Even Iron Man has an army of robots. Why do we care about ninja fighting in the streets, trenches, whatnot when they have no weight at all?
Because
World War Hork.
World War Hulk.
Because if you think about it, they could have weight if you give them interesting stories.
Yeah, I got to disagree with you because
Well, and that's always the comic book conundrum, right? So
Right.
you've got the guys the kind of normal humans who are not super soldiers even, you know,
Right.
they're just kind of regular people, but they're highly trained or they're highly knowledgeable or
Right.
whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That's kind of always the argument, isn't it?
Okay.
it is.
Also,
Go ahead.
it's just a bit off topic, but you remember how I was talking about I was interested in what Thor was wearing nowadays? Official Marvel image.
Yeah, that's an alternate costume for him. But yeah, it's so Snow. We're gonna talk about that. Why do we care about ninja fighting in the streets, trenches? Because Daredevil is a badass. That's why we care about that. So
Before you make the argument that he technically has superpowers, that doesn't matter.
anyway, so yeah, it's. And part of it too, Snow, is I'll say that those stories are kind of interesting. The story of the guy who doesn't have the powers, who has to try and keep up with those who do. That can be an interesting story too.
Hell, that's how we got Iron Man.
That's Batman. I mean, Batman and the Justice
Yeah.
League.
Batman.
Who's the most interested Justice Leaguer? A scale issue for you? Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
I get that too. Daredevil fights much. Go read a real comic book there, Snow. Daredevil fights much more than muggers on the subway.
This dude was able to go one-on-one with Kingpin, who could crack a marble table in half, mind you.
He's gone up against much, much bigger people as well.
Like the Hand.
Anyway,
Like the Hand. Oh, the Hand is the ninjas.
like the
Yeah.
son of Mephisto. I don't know. You know. Yeah, exactly.
He sounds unfriendly.
He is. Mephisto is essentially Marvel's devil.
Right.
So the son of Satan is. Yeah, I think that's kind of a.
He's unfriendly.
Yeah, he's
he doesn't play well with
unfriendly
others.
Yeah.
I want to reach through and slap you right now.
They're bringing Daredevil back too.
They
eventually.
are.
I'll be 70 by the time it comes back, but
Black Widow
I heard
fighting-
that is coming back, so that's good.
So yeah, we're gonna get into all that. Black Widow fighting on the battlefield with 2 Glock 17s is a joke.
With 2 what?
Glock 17s or pistols,
Bullets can
guns.
still kill stuff.
and so can her widow's sting. And don't give me that crap.
It's all about getting Scarlett Johansson out there. That's all about. Come on.
Or Yelena
She brings
Belova,
out. She
or,
brings in eyeballs.
yeah, Helen
Nothing seats,
Q.
as they say.
So I think the consensus is pretty much clear here. It's
Basically.
it was fun. It was entertaining. It was a great popcorn flick, but it was like a puddle in the parking lot. Just lacked any depth.
Oh, and the garage. Yeah, garage.
It was fun. I watch it at the theater just because I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
To give me something to go eat popcorn and watch. But
Absolutely.
I'm not going to watch it again. Like, I'm pretty
Lucky
much
makes
done.
sense. He
I mean,
has
I've only
a
seen Ragnarok
but-
one other time after it came out, too. So it's not like I run to go see these movies 3 and 4 times.
What does that mean? A 240 Bravo strapped to
It's
his
a gun.
arm? Since when did he have a gun strapped to his arm?
Ask Snow.
Since when did he have a gun strapped to his arm?
Anyway, so moving on. Black Widow is also more than capable of getting weapons from the enemies to use. There's that too.
There you go.
And not to mention,
There you
she
go.
herself is a weapon.
Right. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean that scene.
It's a what?
The scene was it? Was it the first Avengers when they? Yeah, she had to go get Hulk, and she had to go. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, okay. I'll just deal with this. And I'll go get him.
Right.
You know that whole.
Yeah, like she just took him down with nothing but a chair leg.
And besides that too, you want a broad spectrum of heroes and villains, right? Not everything has to be a god level occurrence. Not every villain has to be an F5 tornado.
Again, that's comics, right? Eventually, every character becomes a god level character because it's comics, and you have to do that, right?
Basically.
That's generally what happens in comics.
I mean,
Yeah.
even Batman got like a Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Yellow Lantern ring.
Eventually, everybody gets everything just because it's comics. So,
Right.
That's fine.
So I think I am the only one here who finished Miss Marvel. Am I correct in that
I watched the
assumption?
first
Yes.
2 episodes. And it was fine. I only started watching it because I thought my daughter would like to watch it.
Yeah.
And we watched the first 2 episodes, and she lost interest. And I'm like, it's fine. It was fun. I mean, I wouldn't be against watching the rest of it at some point. I just didn't prioritize it. I was watching things like Westworld and Orville.
I'm completely caught up on Orville Strange New Things. I've got to watch the new season of Westworld. I haven't done that
Yeah.
yet. Miss Marvel, I enjoyed it. It had that nice tie into history, which you would you missed. It was you take a whole episode and go to the partition of Pakistan from India in 1942 when it split up.
Yeah.
42, 47, 42.
Uh,
I couldn't tell you.
yes.
It's in the 40s.
We'll sit in the middle and say 45.
But you get a nice little history lesson in there where you go meet Miss Marvel's great grandmother who was lost in there. You find out that she's part Jinn, which is where she gets her powers.
Gotcha. Well, she gets her powers from the
Right, but she,
band or whatever.
And there's a very interesting thing. The band is from her Jinn heritage.
Sure.
The
It's
villains
magical.
in the series, right? But it triggers in her. They dropped a very interesting Easter egg at the end of it, because apparently her brother at some point tried the bangle on and it didn't do anything to him. And then her friend, what's his name, begins with a B. Was it Bruno? Is it Bruno?
I think it is Bruno.
Her friend comes in and says, "Hey, I did some digging and found out that there's something in your DNA, which is why it allows you to work with you.
Sure.
What?
And in the background, you hear. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, like the X-Men thing?
The old X-Men thing, please.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're going to just tease
what?
that for 20 years, and it's never going to come out. It's going to make me angry. I probably wanted some X-Men. I don't even care about any of this other junk. I just want X-Men. They're never going to give it to me.
So wait,
I'll be 75 and
they
dead.
took the person who was a mutant, Scarlet Witch, and made her not a mutant. But they
Scarlet Witch was never a mutant.
huh?
Scarlet Witch isn't a. Oh, Scarlet Witch.
were you thinking of?
I was thinking Black Widow. I don't know
Anyway.
why. But here's the thing. She was originally a mutant, but her role, the chaos magic she controls, or her hex ability, it evolved 20 plus years ago to where she's more of a less mutant and more of a sorceress.
I mean, yeah, but wasn't she still the daughter of Magneto?
That's been retconned.
I was
to
going to
and
say, you
for-
start going down that path, bro, and it's like every hero has been changed so many times over
Right.
the years.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, for 25, 30 years, yes, that was the story. And then someone in the 90s, because it was the 90s and, they had to be extreme,
Right.
decided that they were going to change their backstory. He's not Eric Slencher. They renamed him to Eric Lenscher. That wasn't his Magneto's name. It was Maximilian something, if I remember right. Or Maximus, something like that. But yeah, it's like Juggernaut, exactly. They've changed, because at one point Juggernaut was, does anybody know? Professor
Xavier's
X's
brother.
That's not the case anymore.
Right.
It all depends on what the writer wants to write at any given time. He was not a mutant. He had magic alien rock or something. Right. He had the Crimson Bands of Sidorak.
There's mutants and there's mutates.
Right.
Like he is not a mutant per se.
Right. He was mutated by the Crimson Bands.
What?
Stepbrother. Right.
What?
What one?
What do you mean? Wait, you mean Juggernaut was mutated?
He wasn't a mutant, but he was mutated into the big hulking form and the unstoppable force he is
Because of
the Crimson Bands of Sidorak. That's what makes him unstoppable. He's
Right.
not an actual mutant.
magic.
Right.
Okay.
See, exactly. So it's best to just take these punches and roll with them and
Right,
figure them out as you
right.
go along. Because even in the comic books, they will retcon the shit out of whatever they want to retcon, as long as it fits the writer's story.
Right.
Whatever the means are. They brought Peter Parker's parents back. Ben Reilly is back in comics again. So the Spider Clone lives. The Clone Saga never dies. So yeah, you can't cling too tightly to any one thing, because it can be changed at a whim.
Yeah.
And that's the same in the comics.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, because they introduced Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness, right?
No, they introduced Black Bolt in the Inhumans TV show.
We don't talk about that TV show, man.
That's the funny thing, because there are rumors swirling all over the place, because one of the so I told you had Secret Wars in 2005, then you had a Secret Wars in in 1984. Then you had a mid-2000s Secret Wars, Nick Fury Secret Wars, and then you had the 2015 Secret Wars in the comics.
How many Secret Wars were
There have been
There's lots of secret wars.
Right.
They're all secret. There's a secret war going on right now.
Yeah.
You don't know about it because it's secret.
We're at Grognard, Snow. We just kind of moved up to the front because they put some stuff up in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More stuff to sell.
More, do the thing that they're here to do,
Right.
make money.
Yeah.
So, Daisy Quake from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it's rumored that she may be coming back, and they might be finding, through the multiverse, they're going to find a way to kind of merge these, the same way we're getting Daredevil back, and we're going to talk about that in a couple of minutes. But it's not. It's going to. They're going to kind of say, yeah, that happened, but nothing really counts before right now
Right. Yeah.
when they bring them all in.
Okay. Hopefully they just don't cut off Medusa's hair again.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Yeah.
But we got Black Bolt as Black Bolt in Multiverse of Madness, and so this kind of leads up to what happened at San Diego over the weekend. So I'm going to put something up here.
Also, real quick, while we're on the subject of Inhumans,
Yes.
the dude who played Black Bolt's brother, the dude without powers. Right?
Yes.
What was his name again?
Not Icarus. What was it? He was played by Ramsey Bolton.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yes, that was
I
him.
thought he looked familiar.
Yeah. Herc, that whole scene. All right, so Phase 4 of Marvel. Phase 4 of Marvel has been a weird one. It's, because it goes back to what came right after. All right, Human Encyclopedia. What was the first show? It was Loki, right?
No.
Oh, no, WandaVision.
Yeah, WandaVision.
Everything from WandaVision until Wakanda Forever is what they're considering Phase 4, including She-Hulk. And it's more hours of content than any other phase. I want to say there's over 50 hours of content for this phase of Marvel, even though there are fewer movies because of WandaVision and Loki and What If.
Right.
And Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Don't forget about that.
Falcon and Winter Show. So you've had like 7 TV series that have dropped through all of this on top of the movies. And everything feels like a fresh introduction with the exception of, because Loki was essentially a fresh introduction to Loki.
Technically, yes.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier was all about finding the new Captain America. Give me the Agatha. Yes, we're going to talk about that.
It's been Agatha.
There you go. I think we're going to start seeing things kind of tied together a lot more coming into Phase 5. First thing I got to share one still that from She-Hulk's trailer. And if you haven't seen She-Hulk's trailer already, you need to go see it.
Real quick, is it alright if I grab a soda while you pull that up?
Yes, go right ahead.
Thanks.
And if you would bring me one, that'd be awesome. So,
Coke Zero?
Diet Dew. This still right here got me so excited.
What is it?
That is Daredevil landing on the rooftop at the end of She-Hulk.
Oh.
And you'll notice the costume color looks a little bit weird because it's the red and yellow that he wore in the first 7 issues of the comics.
Ah, gotcha.
So for me, what that signals, and then they finished with this shot of his crotch because,
Gotcha.
of course,
Yeah, with that first shot. Now that is
So is it going to be, is the Daredevil show going to be a reboot, or is it going to be a continuation of the story from the Netflix?
that's going to be the real question because they are bringing D'Onofrio back, they are bringing Charlie Cox back.
Right.
Well, that's really a question that can really only be answered after. I'm moving it so that the snap isn't loud.
Well, but you're talking at the same time. So if you're going to do that,
Kind of
you
like
gotta
when a
do
train
that.
goes by.
Yeah.
Right?
That's really a question that can. It's the Doppler effect. I get it. So that's really only a question that can be answered after Daredevil makes his appearance in the show, because then we'll know if this is a new interpretation or if it's the same one.
Well, and again,
Yeah.
it's like any comic book writer can do. Yeah, he's got this history, but here's the real
Here's what
story.
actually happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get some acknowledgments, and everything coming into Phase 6. Phase 6 is really where it's all going to finally come together. Because as we go through the list, you start with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, where the main villain is going to be Kang.
How did I not actually realize that they actually revealed Secret Invasion?
Secret Invasion is coming in the spring, as is Guardians of the Galaxy, where the villain is going to be the High Evolutionary, who's another Kang scale, almost a Kang scale cosmic villain.
I thought it was going to be Adam Warlock.
He's
He's
going
going to be in it.
He's going to be in it.
Yeah.
He's not going to be the villain.
They were building him up as a villain, though.
Why do you think that?
Because the golden lady from the end of Guardians Volume 2 specifically said she made him to hunt the Guardians down.
Yeah, and he turns out to not be a douche, so that's how it works.
I mean, yeah, sure, but hey, Marvel's been turning bad guys into heroes, heroes into bad guys.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
So the character of Adam Warlock in the comics, he's kind of like, he's the good guy, but he's the very strict good guy, right? He's the keeper of the Soul Stone, and he's very he's not the kind of character you want to be lighthearted. He's kind of very this is right and right is right, and there's no deviating from the right kind of character.
I really like
He's a lawful good paladin.
He is a lawful good paladin.
I really like his interpretation in the recent Guardians of the Galaxy video game, because yes, to contrast the Guardians, he was very like strict morally and didn't joke a lot, very to the point with what he was trying to say. Although he did have a weird cadence with how he spoke, namely because like he would always each word in a string, like every 2 or 3 words, would always just start with the same letter.
Okay.
Is that a thing in the comics, by the way?
No.
No.
That's cool.
I mean,
Anyway,
And wasn't in the original Infinity comic books, wasn't he
Yes.
the one who beat Thanos, basically?
Yes.
Didn't he get or was it,
So-
or
so-
was it Gamora
no.
Nebula.
or Nebula?
Nebula was in the original
She
Infinity
betrayed him
Gauntlet.
or something,
Yes.
and then Adam Warlock got the glove and
Correct.
re-snapped or something.
Right. Yes. I have to go back. It's been so
been
long,
so
since,
long,
since
yeah.
I read that. I mean, that's
I'm sure I could YouTube that and get the story somewhere.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but which is so when they originally teased Thanos in at the end of the first Avengers, it get me so excited because to go against them is to court death. And that's exactly what the
Right.
plot of the original. It's like, I want.
Which they conveniently completely left out.
Yeah.
Let's see.
What?
You guys all seem to do all totally fine. All right. Let's see. So fun that somewhat pertains to She-Hulk. Gamma radiation largely passes through humans without stopping or slowing to any major degree. Derpa Deb, that's right. He was
Yes.
lawful good.
Meanwhile, the Guardians are chaotic good.
That's exactly it. So going through, phase 4 seems like a lot of it seems kind of, or phase 5, I mean, there isn't much of a thread weaving through these. It doesn't feel, because we know coming up in phase 6 that it's all going to be about Kang. It's going to be about Kang Doom, and we're going to talk about that. But we've got I've got a couple of theories, just looking at the titles. So we know we've got Kang and Quantum Mania. We've got Secret Invasion coming up. Echo is going to also bring another return to Daredevil and Kingpin.
Kingpin, yeah.
Echo was the
The
deaf
chicken Hawkeye, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes. We got Loki season 2, which is filming, and the Marvels should be interesting because it's going to bring together Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel,
Right.
and the
Photon,
who was the Black Captain Marvel of the 80s.
Right.
That was my original Captain Marvel when I started reading, because she was known as a Captain Marvel then. Then we got Blade and Ironheart, and Ironheart is very, very interesting because she's going to be in Wakanda forever. Have a shot of her right there.
Oh, that's her.
Yeah. Kind of a nice throwback to Tony Stark building his first
Right,
armor in the cave.
Also,
Yes.
for Blade, you remember how Kit Harington played Dane Whitman?
Yep, the Black Knight.
I think he's going to be showing up in Blade.
He very well may.
And I'm mainly basing this off of so you remember that end credit scene in The Eternals when he found the family sword and the person spoke to him from off screen? I've heard rumors that was actually Blade.
That very well may be. Because he has the ebony blade. So, yeah, that's what turns Dane Whitman into the Black Knight. So, we will see. Ironheart is a very interesting character to me. I've got her first appearance in the comics, and it was like a Miles Morales where they introduced her so organically that it didn't feel forced, to create a new version of a legacy character. She carried the Iron Man mantle for a little while Tony Stark was missing. And you're talking about a 15-year-old genius who's able to build her own Iron Man armor. I'm very curious to see what they do with her through that. Then we get Agatha. They changed it from House of Harkness to Coven of Chaos. So that's going to be the show that revolves all around Agatha, and I'm really fascinated by that.
Yeah.
But then we come to the one that made me squeal like a little girl when they announced that we are getting an 18-episode Daredevil series of Born Again. And for those who don't know Born Again, in the comics, Kingpin discovers that Matt Murdock is Daredevil and destroys his life. destroys it, and it's all about how he comes back, and it's wonderfully written by Frank Miller. And to tell you how crazy us comic book nerds are, I've owned that comic book for 35 years. It has been a $5 to $7 comic for 35 years.
Yeah.
They announced on Saturday that they were going to be doing Born Again.
And it blew up in price.
All of a sudden, that $7 comic immediately jumped to a $50 comic. I mean, literally overnight. You can go on to Cover Price and watch the prices jump. Yeah, Agatha was such an
agree.
amazing character.
She was great.
And I think it'll be interesting to like discover how she got out of like that mind trap Wanda put her in.
And it's going to be the same way that Wanda ended up surviving somehow, and because you can't, you're not killing. They're not killing off.
My theory,
Nobody does.
Honestly, my theory is just like after Wanda collapsed the thing, all the magic just sort of wore off on Agatha. Like something simple, really.
So what about Doctor Doom?
Let's talk about that because that's going to be very interesting.
Because we know they're
Wait,
doing a
what?
Fantastic Four.
Yeah,
Wait, have they cast Doctor Doom?
he has not been cast yet,
Oh,
but well,
They've been hinting at him.
they have been. So something that really, before we get there, let's look at these last two entries into this. We've got Captain America. What really intrigues me about this is Captain America 4. This is going to be Sam Wilson as Captain America. His first helming of, helming the title. It's
Yeah.
called New World Order. The New World Order is the Illuminati, is it not? And that was something that we had hinted at, that we saw in the Multiverse of Madness. We're getting Namor coming in Wakanda, member of the Illuminati. We've got Doctor Strange already. We're getting Reed Richards.
Right.
I think we're going to see the building of the Illuminati
could be interesting.
in that. And then we get the big announcement that nobody was expecting in the Thunderbolts. That literally came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The Thunderbolts were Marvel's biggest bait and switch ever. They put out a new team of superheroes. They show up in a Hulk comic and they're doing good. It's like Citizen V and all these other characters, and they're ha ha ha. They have their first episode. Hey, we're the Thunderbolts. And at the very end of it, they take off the mask and it's Baron Zemo and it's a bunch of bad guys pretending to be good guys.
Right.
I think
So they
so.
can do bad.
I think so far the only person they have officially for the Thunderbolts is U.S. Agent, right? Because like we're not sure about Yelena.
So we have no idea. I mean,
Well, the assumption is you'll get Abomination, right? And like you said, Captain what's his face? Mm-hmm. U.S. dude.
U.S. agent,
U.S. guy.
and you're gonna get Contessa de Fontaine, aka Julia Louis Dreyfus.
Right. And isn't there a talk of the Red Hulk too? Isn't that one of the things? Wasn't he a Thunderbolt?
He was a Thunderbolt for a while. Yeah.
Have they talked about
Hell,
that in this?
it was named
in this
after
world
him.
yet though?
No, it wasn't.
Or does he become Red Hulk or something?
Yeah, Thunderbolt Ross. Yes,
Yeah,
he becomes
Red Hulk.
He becomes the Red Hulk.
Well, you assume you might get him then.
However,
Right.
that would be complicated because his actor passed away.
No, they can recast.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
They've
like
done it
Chadwick
before.
Boseman.
Right.
Yeah. Look at Bruce Banner.
That I mean, that's fair, but that wasn't due to an actor death.
Right. No, but it's honestly, I don't know if they keep T'Challa dead forever. Right. Maybe you sit him out a cycle, and are they going to turn it over to Shuri permanently? Yes, Shuri was Black Panther for a while in the comics, but eventually they always come back, and you want to see T'Challa. People tune in for T'Challa.
Right. I mean, they've done 3 Spider-Mans for God's sakes.
Right. I think it's right to sit him out and honor Chadwick.
course, yeah.
But at some point, that character's too important to the universe to not have him be alive, in my opinion. So then we move on to, after that we get into phase 5. And they're only, so I think we're
You
going to
mean
get
phase 6?
or phase 6, excuse me. I think we're going to end up with some gaps filled in next month with D23 because there's a lot on here. There's a lot of open space and not a lot of titles filled in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We're starting with the
I
Fantastic
mean, what year?
Four,
What's the first year on that, though? I mean, you're talking about...
2024. This phase is lasting barely a year.
Gotcha.
I'm willing to bet we're gonna get a Thor 5 in Phase 6.
They'll probably push it back, though. I mean, it always takes them longer to get these movies out than they say.
Well, and sometimes, I mean, look at what they've managed to do, even with the pandemic since 2020. since 2020, we've had 7 TV shows, 4 movies. They've been able to crank this out pretty regular.
More movies.
Content.
Right. But we've got fantastic. We know the assumption. We know we got Fantastic Four coming. It's going to be the second project in the phase, this final phase. Then we're getting the Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. That's what we know. There are assumptions going on, and we should hear more at D23 that X-Men are going to be introduced somewhere in all of here.
Right.
And maybe we see it, and it may be between the 2 Avengers movies, because there are 2 projects listed between the 2 movies.
Right.
And they use the multiverse and the Kang, because it's called the Kang Dynasty, right? And one of the things they did confirm over the weekend was that you're going to see multiple different Kangs. Joey and I were talking about this on the way over here.
Yeah.
Jonathan Majors, who was the one, he who remains in Loki, right?
Yeah.
We knew that was Kang, and they set up in that show that the only reason that there aren't Kangs running around was because he who remains beat them all, trapped him into a singular timeline, so there won't be, and that's why they maintain that sacred timeline with the TVA, because as you branch off and you get variants, you're going to get variants of Kang, who started the cross-time wars. So he's keeping it all under control. Well, the end of Loki, he's not in control, and everything does this. So what you're going to end up with is exactly that. You're going to end up seeing multiple Kangs pop up throughout the movies and shows of these 3 phases.
And Deb, I completely agree. I would absolutely love to see Gambit. And actually, this kind of ties into a theory I've told my dad twice now. I have a feeling that when Secret Wars happens and I guess the multiverse merges into one, because that's what happened in the comics.
Right.
I have a feeling that's how they're going to introduce the X-Men, and the third set of phases is going to be the mutant saga.
And that is a very distinct possibility.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few, Deb, I don't like Gambit.
I like Gambit.
How dare you?
No.
He wasn't
one
my
of my
favorite, but he's cool.
No, mon chéri, I do not care for the Cajun. For me, to be honest, it took till the Deadpool movies for me to give a crap about Deadpool either. I never, he was.
Right.
There's something about 90s comic book characters that just bugs me. The 90s, when it comes to comics,
You're such a grognard.
I love the 80s. I love the aughts. It's this one decade.
It's just that decade.
It's that decade of everything extreme.
Let's see.
Everybody.
Yeah, sure. Everybody likes comics now. I'm not gonna like them anymore.
It's the accent for you. Personally, for me, it's his whole carefree attitude. I do love the sort of swagger he's got, I guess.
Where's the Morph movie? That's right.
There you go.
It's
No, there's something about those 90s characters. Like, for the most part, I don't care about many Image books from that time frame. I hate Rob Liefeld with every fiber of my
Tony.
being.
Yes, everybody knows that, Tony. We know you don't like him.
Although, actually, something just came to mind. Do you think we're ever going to see Vulture again in the MCU?
Yeah.
Who?
Michael Keaton.
Oh, Michael Keaton.
Because I mainly ask because of the ending to Morbius.
I never even saw that movie.
know,
I have
yeah.
to watch it. I've heard it's whatever, but I do need to watch that movie.
I'll watch it at some point.
Yeah.
Look,
I just haven't had it.
I just sat down and rewatched Mystery Men the other night. Come on.
Yeah.
The main reason I want to watch Morbius is kind of the same reason I want to watch the Twilight movies. It is simply morbid curiosity.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
I've heard it's
little-
bad, but I want to see it for myself.
There is such a thing as hate watching too.
Yes.
You can absolutely hate watch.
Absolutely. I watched the first Twilight. I haven't watched the rest of them.
No.
I did watch the first Sparkly Vampire movie.
Yeah, well, sparkly vampires.
I was curious.
Yeah.
I need to know.
Right.
It's like why do you watch East of Eden?
I mean,
It's not to see Rosie O'Donnell and
as long as
bondage
you kept your
gear.
pants on the whole time, it's fine.
Exactly.
One small detail I heard about for the first Twilight movie that actually allowed me to learn a pretty interesting vampire fact.
Are there such things as vampire facts?
Okay,
I'm glad you
know-
said it, but I'm curious now. I'm now morbidly curious what vampire fact you learned.
so you know how it's generally a thing where vampires don't show up in mirrors?
Sure.
That's because
I don't know where that came from, but
back in like medieval era, most mirrors actually contain silver, which,
Sure.
if you would know, is harmful to most monsters, including vampires. However, nowadays,
In real-
most mirrors don't actually have those.
in real life.
In real life. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Derpideg is talking about sparkle fairies.
Sparkle fairies, yeah.
And then
Yes.
Big Snow apparently
Abbey.
anger watches Downton Abbey.
Yeah, I have a friend who does nothing but watch anime, all the time, and he says he absolutely hates anime, and he should know because he watches a lot of it. I know. What do you want? What do you want from me?
But this phase really it intrigues me a lot because Doom's got to be the big bad in 4. He might not be the big bad though. He could be. It could be that Kang is still
It
the
seems
big
like
bad.
everybody, the people who are Doctor Doom fans are freaking Doctor Doom fans, man. It's like people are rabid about he's the most powerful, he's the greatest, he's awesome, he's the best hero ever. And even, I've never been a Fantastic Four fan per se. They're kind of cool, but I don't have any particular interest whatsoever in Doctor Doom. He's kind of an interesting character, but I know, I've never seen him portrayed well at all, I guess, is part of the
and
problem.
that's kind of the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, with the exception of. So the Roger Corman movie is, as horrible as it is,
But that's one you watch because it's horrible.
Right,
Not
right.
because it's going to be a great representation of the comic.
but the fact of the matter is, they gave you a Doctor Doom who is on the intellectual level of Mr. Fantastic, and that's kind of the thing.
Right.
Not only is he's
Supposed to be the foil, right?
Right.
He's just as smart as kind of guy.
Exactly.
The smartest man in the world, right? So, right.
and that's what makes him so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he doesn't, Doom doesn't care,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got the Doombots, and he rules Latveria, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes him interesting and intriguing. But if it's not done well,
It just comes off cheesy and weird.
exactly. Was it Ian Gruffold was the one in the it just also Hate Watched Inhumans episode 1 wasn't worthy of any further hate watching.
Yeah, that's fair.
One and done.
Yeah, it was awful.
I tried to watch Legion. Have you watched Legion?
I struggled. Yeah,
I think I watched half of the first episode and I just couldn't do it. I would like to try it again because there's a podcast I listened to where one of the people really likes it and says it's great if you get through it, but I lost interest or fell asleep or something.
it's like watching the first season and a half of Parks and Rec.
Yeah, right.
That first season is. I still remember because I was watching The Office when that dropped. I started watching Legion made, exactly.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where if you can get through to the about the 6th or 7th episode of season 2, that's when it really gets good, and it takes off from there.
Yeah.
And I've been told that about Legion 2.
Yeah.
I watched about the first half of the first season before I went. No.
Yeah, I couldn't get through Moon Knight either. I fell asleep 2 separate occasions trying to watch the first episode of Moon Knight. Sitting in my chair trying to watch that show. I don't know what it was that just put me to sleep. I don't know what it was.
Honestly, I also didn't like. It's the same situation with Moon Knight and Miss Marvel, where I just did not really
Didn't
have
care.
an interest in.
Yeah.
I just didn't have an interest in keeping up with it.
Right, yeah,
Like,
right.
I initially watched the first episode of Miss Marvel, and then I watched 2 more to try and catch up for today, and then I watched the first 3 episodes of Moon Knight when they came out.
See, Moon Knight is a character that it's one of those offbeat characters that I've always
Right.
really liked. So Moon Knight wasn't a struggle for me. It was a slow burn, though. It was a very slow burn,
Right.
compared to every other Marvel TV show.
Right.
It felt more like a Breaking Bad or a Better Call Saul, where it's like we're building.
You're in for the long haul kind of thing.
Right. Miss Marvel kept me, the visual interest in Miss Marvel is what really kept me. And then when we started, and the deeper they got into the cultural parts, as a character, as a, hey, I'm the fangirl superhero, I probably wouldn't have been as interested. but it was the cultural parts of it, and the visually, the stuff that they were doing there was really, really fun.
Yeah, I definitely want to
Yeah.
finish that one for sure.
Like I remember watching the first episode, and I really like how they played into what Kamala sort of sees and how cartoony it all is.
Yeah.
And I kind of love that because that's kind of how my brain works too.
Yeah, I dig the Egyptian mythology as well, so I really kind of want to like Moon Knight, so maybe I'll give it another chance. Maybe when I'm not so sleepy.
Yeah.
I won't watch it at 9:00 at night, sitting in my very comfy chair.
Right.
I'll watch it on Saturday morning or something where I'm wide awake and I can pay attention.
Yeah, with your morning
With my
coffee.
exactly right.
Because the thing is, I was sitting there through the first episode. I'm like, okay, I see where they're going. I see what they're doing. But it's like you don't get a hint of Moon Knight until the last 30 seconds of the episode.
10.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Is
like,
that right? Yeah.
yeah. Up until then, you're just like, okay. So what exactly?
There's just
is
weird
going
stuff
on?
happen to the main character.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
I blacked out now. I'm in like in another country, and I didn't even have to go on a rager this time.
Yeah.
You see, and again, for me, Moon Knight, I felt that the tone was right for the character because he is a multi-personality,
Right, yeah.
He, whatever dissociative identity disorder, I guess what it's called now. We used to just call him schizophrenic back in the day.
Right.
But he's DID, and I love the way that they're treating it. It's like, what happened? Why am I here? What are these bodies? And then but the thing that I loved about it is when he got to talk to his alter ego, and they go into a shrink's office, and the shrink is analyzed. It dug really deep into the psyche, into the broken psyche of the man, and it was a tremendous fun once you get to that. But it's kind of that slow burn to get to that point,
Right.
before you get the payoff.
Right. Before we exit today, I forgot to bring something up at the beginning of the show.
Oh, bring it up
What's
now.
up?
What's up?
Unrelated, but a new Dungeons and Dragons movie trailer.
Yes. Yes.
So I did want to talk about that. I don't know if you want to talk about it now or, I don't want to interrupt our flow here, but I
No,
just wanted to
that's
mention
okay.
that it
let's
came
talk
out
about
and we
that.
wanted to.
Let's talk about that, and then
I did
after
wanna
that,
discuss it.
we can talk about the House of the Dragon trailer because it kind of ties in fantasy.
Well, yeah, no,
and
everything.
the Rings of Power have all of
Rings
those
of-
trailers out.
That-
And San Diego Drive, and this is really, I know we're talking mostly Marvel, but really, we started off talking about
that
the Warner
convention,
Brothers. It's
right.
about San Diego dropping all the information. So
Right.
D&D, Dungeons and Dragons,
Don't forget the Mimic Deb.
Honor Among Thieves.
Honor Among Thieves,
Right.
where it's a party of thieves.
Right. Well, it's not really. That's just the kind of conceit that
Well-
Oh,
we steal things and we just stole something for the wrong person.
But I got the vibe that, like at the beginning of it, that they realized that, hey, all of us who have this one skill set together, and this being our only skill set, isn't a good idea. So I felt like they started off as a group of thieves, who then had to go, well, who can help us out? This magician and this
You could tell they're
barbarian.
kind of-
This
You
druid.
can tell they're kind of recruiting people. Yeah, right. And obviously the Chris Pine character as the bard.
That was his that
Oh,
last
yeah.
second where he's just like,
As a
like,
bard
all right, that's
player,
it.
I was so happy.
Yeah.
But also, I love how we got to see like that druid actually using a wild shape. It's
There's already nerds losing their mind over that.
It's a small thing, but my god, did it make me happy.
Everybody's throwing out. So, what did you think of the transformation into the owlbear? Did you feel that owlbear felt like an owlbear?
Yes, I
Yes.
think it felt like an owlbear. Isn't the complaint though that druids can't turn into owlbears or something like that? That you can't wild shape into
Hold
an
up.
owlbear because it's a monstrous, it's a monstrous creature or something. It's not an actual
5e.
beast. I think that was a complaint.
Hold on.
Exactly. Right.
on.
100%.
Pulling up
We
stats.
have to look up the actual rule. But I heard somebody complaining about druids.
yeah, it's listed as a monstrosity.
A monstrosity, yeah, and I don't think druids can wild shape into an owlbear technically. So it's definitely a poke your glasses to the middle of your nose and say, actually, like I get that.
I mean,
I'm
like,
not going to complain
if
about
it-
it.
No, not at all.
If it
My
were
only-
me and I were like running it, I would like let my players turn into an owlbear, especially because
Give me owlbear.
okay, only if they were playing a moon druid because it is challenge rating 3.
There you go. Yeah,
So,
exactly right.
so
Owlbear, give me owlbear. Exactly right.
the only complaint that I have about the owlbear is the species of owl they used for the head, because that was too nice a looking owl. That looked like Mr.
It looked very cute, like a cute owl.
A cute
right?
owl.
Yeah.
You needed an angry owl face on that owl
When
there.
we here at the store first got the new Reaper Bones Black series, they're called, of the new owl bear. When we got that owl bear model in, our employee at the time was Kaylee. She was our manager. She got that owl bear. She thought it was so cute. She named it in the system "Cute Owl Bear." So having a cute owl bear is there's some precedent for that. But yeah, I thought that was fine. And I will say, when the first day, the first leak was just the pictures of the characters and their costumes, and I was a little worried that first day because the costumes looked a little cosplay-y. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is just going to be a live-action kind of cosplay, not really good-looking movie. I'm going to be upset. Now, I can't have high expectations, right?
No.
Because the first D&D movie was total garbage.
Oh, yeah.
And I almost walked out on it, but we didn't.
And the second one was worse.
The second,
I didn't even
you
know
could
there were
argue,
sequels.
You can argue that there was a second and a third one, and they both went straight to
Straight
video.
to DVD. Right.
You can argue that they're better because the first one was so over the top and had actors in it that were supposed to be good actors, but they were given the biggest pile of garbage ever, so they couldn't recover it. But then I saw the actual trailer, and once I saw the trailer, I felt much better about, okay, this will be a fun movie. Like it's going to be. Not worried, but like you can tell they're going down the path of. And they even said, the showrunners or whoever's talking about it, it's going to be fun. This is going to be a fun movie. Like, that's what they're saying out loud about it to promote it. So it's going to be funny. It's going to be, everybody has to be a Taika Waititi now. Everybody has to make Thor Ragnarok.
They're
because it was
afraid that if they
popular.
don't throw in a million jokes, they won't get our attention.
Right, exactly. And like we were talking about earlier, it kind of relates to what we were saying earlier. Balance is good. Like,
Yeah.
it can be as a quote unquote serious movie. It can be a fun movie at the same time, right? Hugh Grant as the bad guy, okay, that's fine. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
Let's see where they go with it. All I see when I see Hugh Grant is Jeff Goldblum. Like it reminds me so much of that character, right? Whereas I hope they go more like the Collector, a character who's played by what's his face?
Benicio
Del Toro. Like, that was a cool character.
That was.
And definitely not a funny character. Whereas Jeff Goldblum, who I think they're supposed to be related in the MCU, right?
Yeah, they're brothers.
Obviously Jeff Goldblum, much more for the chuckles.
Right.
I hope they go more Benicio Del Toro than they do Jeff Goldblum. But
Right.
I definitely got that vibe when I saw him pop up. And the funny stuff, like making fun of the bard with the lute. Like, what are you gonna do? You got to lute,
Yeah.
right? He's like, or a guitar. He's like, it's a lute, whatever.
Also-
like, okay, funny, I got it. That's okay.
Also, another small detail I liked from the trailer is the fact that they actually used the black dragon instead of the stereotypical red one, and they actually had it spitting acid on the battlefield.
Yeah, it's
like that's more of a deep cut for people who actually play. Because
the little details like that I'm gonna like. Yeah.
yeah, like normal people don't know that in D&D, black dragons shoot
I
acid.
like how he refers to them as normal people.
The normal people,
Yeah.
normies. We call them normies.
We used to call them mundanes back in the
Oh
day.
yeah, we call them normies.
All right, so we had the D&D trailer, which it looks fun. I will want to check it out in the theater.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
It'll be a big deal
Absolutely.
for us here at the store.
Teen Wolf.
Teen
what?
Wolf coming out on Paramount Plus. Trailer dropped. I did not watch that.
Hard pass.
I don't know if it'll be a hard pass, but for the moment, it's a pass.
Hard pass.
Hard.
Lord of the Rings of Power trailer dropped.
Very excited about that.
Also, were those was that actual makeup on the orcs?
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
They're doing lots of practical effects, and they're doing that on purpose. Now, of course, they're doing CGI stuff too. But,
Of course.
Yeah,
but they
like-
are purposely doing practical effects on a lot of
It's
that kind
one
of
of
thing.
the
Like there
things.
has to be a balance. Like you can have CGI wargs, but not too many CGI. You can't really have CGI orcs.
But here's the thing, though. When CGI should be like it should be the way to cover up the seams, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things that I'm loving about the Orville, and this season it's even more pronounced.
Mm-hmm.
Is they use practical masks on their practical makeup. And
Yeah.
I think that's a practical model of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
It does not have it feels like it has weight
Mm-hmm.
in its space. It doesn't feel. I could be wrong.
Right.
That could be the best
Have to look it up,
CGI generated spaceship, but the Orville feels like a model that's enhanced with CGI, which I think is a fantastic way to go.
And then there's also that slime ball character who's literally a pile of slime. That is all CGI.
Well, of course, because you can't fit Norm Macdonald
was
into
just
a
gonna
pile
say,
of goo.
I mean, yeah, but you can
Well, I mean, you could
Pour
now.
one out for Norm Macdonald,
Yeah,
please,
absolutely.
because he definitely deserves it.
I mean, you could definitely make like I don't know a slime animatronic or something.
I would,
Why? I like the way you think. That's pretty good.
Stick 'em on wheels.
Slime animatronic.
Stick 'em on wheels.
you would
They
have
did
been.
that at Disney in 1965.
Yeah. We got a trailer for Star Trek Lower Deck Season 3.
Nice.
That's a show that I like, as same with Picard.
Okay.
House of the Dragon.
Now that definitely looks interesting, and I'm glad Dumb and Dumber are not involved.
Yeah, it should be good. It's a pretty good story. It's not. It feels like the Fire and Blood novel that he did feels a little bit more like you're reading the Silmarillion, which is on purpose, of course, because he steals everything he does from J.R.R. Tolkien, which is fine. But it's not as engaging as Game of Thrones. It's interesting, but it reads more like a history because that's really what it is. It's written as a history. So it'll be interesting if they can give it the drama that it deserves, that it's supposed to have. And Martins has said there's no good guys in the show. There's no everyone's awful.
Yeah.
Everyone's a horrible human being.
So, and the gist of what I understand, the Targaryen that is played by Matt Smith is supposed to be the heir to the throne, but the king decides to name his daughter as the first female heir, who would be the first queen of Westeros to sit on the throne, and it divides the family, divides the country, and we go to war.
Hilarity
I wonder
ensues.
which part of the family would end up siring
Love that.
crap. Who's the Mad King?
Ares
Aegon,
or Aegon?
or
I get him confused.
Aegon the Targaryen, yeah. Aegon Targaryen. Isn't that right?
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway, why?
Another Disney project that's dropping here, I think in the next couple of days, is I Am Groot.
Is that a TV show?
It's a TV show. It's an animated series. It's all CG animated.
Sure,
though.
yeah.
Eris
Aerys
Targaryen.
Targaryen.
Eris the second.
That's what I said, right? Ares?
But it's all about young Groot. They go back
Baby
to
Groot.
Baby Groot.
Yeah, right.
Supposedly it's like pre-Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure.
It's absolutely adorable.
Yeah, it looks cute.
But that's what it is. It's
cute.
It's
Yeah.
saccharine, right?
Right,
It's,
exactly, yeah.
There's not
fun.
going to be any weight, but it's going to be adorable.
My daughter, I'm sure, will want to watch that for sure.
She-Hulk Attorney at Law. I'm looking forward to this. It looks like they've improved the effects.
Yeah.
She doesn't look as plastic as she did. I love that they finally gave us, because one of the things that I love that they did in the 80s She-Hulk series was before you had Deadpool, you had She-Hulk breaking the fourth wall.
Right, yeah.
10 years before you had Deadpool, she was doing it. So screw you, Rob Liefeld and Deadpool.
Also that the internet's kind of going. They're kind of going nuts over that bit in the trailer where like She-Hulk was just over the dude on the couch.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. But of course, for me, seeing the yellow suit Daredevil, because so I'd started to mention this earlier, but we kind of diverted before I could. What I like about them putting him in that red and yellow suit that was the first costume in the comics. It's almost like they're going, here's the soft reboot. Those stories don't not exist,
Right.
But
We're
this
just going to
is
pretend we're not going to reference them ever, that kind of thing.
right.
Yeah.
Honestly, and as cool as the yellow and yellow and red suit seems, I kind of want them to like not go too heavy on the yellow.
Well, it's going to be in the series. It was he had a red vest and red underwear on the outside with yellow and red boots and gloves with yellow legs, yellow arms, yellow mask. Right.
Yeah, I know.
What it was.
But
it
I'm
wasn't the
thinking,
greatest of designs. I will admit that.
Yeah.
I get that, but it's kind of that. It's
That's
that,
from that era, too. I mean,
Right.
it's- yeah.
Honestly, I'm just thinking like if they stick to like golden gloves, golden boots, and like the yellow helmet, I think that'll be enough for me.
It's sleeves, leggings, and helmet is what you're going to get.
Okay.
Well,
Get
did you
enough.
not
That's what
see
you
the
get.
picture?
Yeah, but
Look
then
at
they
the picture.
redid the colors.
You get.
No, this is the picture. That is the still.
Look at the one of us. Okay, look at the other one. Yeah, look, you can see the upper sleeve. It's not red. I mean, it's not yellow. It's red.
And maybe you start with the yellow and you move to the red with just the yellow gauntlets. We'll see. I don't care. All I know is we get Daredevil back. Daredevil's one of my top characters of all time. So
Hell yes.
that makes me happy. What else? Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That was Angela Bassett's going to be a force in this movie.
She's just a great actress, right?
No,
I mean,
of
it's
course.
amazing when you get great actors to do and to give them a decent script, how
That's
good the
the
movies
key.
come.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Now, there is one complaint that I have that is super, super minor. I wouldn't even call it complaint. It's a grouse.
Does it grind your gears?
It ground my gears just a little bit, and I understand.
Shoot.
You have a black actor in charge of this black movie, but Wakanda's supposed to be an African nation, and they're using Jamaican music in it.
Well,
That was the one thing. I'm like, it feels like the thing is, I want that African identity. I don't want it to become African American identity for an African nation. That's the only complaint. For the African American heroes, that's where I want my Sam Wilson. That's where I want. I want Power Man back. I want to see Luke Cage back.
Hell yeah.
Let us.
well, where do you think Jamaican
hell,
music
even
came
Rhodey.
from?
What's that?
Where do you think Jamaican music came from?
Jamaica man.
Yeah, right. Heavily influenced, of course, by the people who populated from Africa. So
Sure, a couple hundred years removed.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. What I would like.
it's a mixing of cultures, right?
Right,
So that's
and that's kind of the thing, because it gives stupid white boys the excuse to not understand their history by lumping all black people together, because
Hold on.
None of us are monolithic, right?
I just had a thought. Where exactly in the timeline are they going to fit the War Machine project with the Iron Legion stuff?
You're talking about Armor Wars?
Armor Wars, yeah.
That's a good question, and that very well may be one of the projects that you have in Phase 6 that is unannounced.
They're really going to make us wait that long for a Rhodey-led project?
It's only 2 more years. I mean, it'll fit somewhere on the, we've got so many hours of television and movies coming ahead of us. If Marvel was smart, smarter than they are, if Disney was smarter than they are, they should space these projects in such a way that every week drops a new project. Mm-hmm. You should get a new episode of something, and then once Miss Marvel ends, the next week is when the next movie hits the theater. And the next week you start your next series. I mean, you've got enough hours, and even if you don't want to do it all just Marvel, space it out Marvel and Star Wars. Mm-hmm. They should be dropping.
You need to space it out, because people just don't have the time to sit and watch a brand new thing every single week.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Not to mention, then it could actually lead to burnout. Like, it gets so... You end up being so drained from just trying to keep up from the weekly releases.
Well, but the thing is, we used to watch weekly TV shows without VCRs,
For
without
30 weeks in a row.
Right.
Yeah, but they also left that summer break.
Yeah, and we hated the summer break because they always left us on a damn
I want a new
cliffhanger.
episode of MASH, darn it.
Who shot JR?
Where's my...
What happened to JR?
Where's Bobby?
Wait, hold on, is Ahsoka leaving? Wait, what do you mean they're canceling it? No!
All right, next up we had the Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer, which looked fun. It looked every bit as fun.
I also like the new suit designs.
I do, and one of the things that I noticed is they slimmed, because the first movie, they had Zachary Levi bulked up, and half of it was the costume.
Yeah.
And if you take a look,
Yeah.
if you take a look at it now, it's sculpted still. He's nowhere near as big he was.
I'm actually going to look up something for comparison.
And then Black Adam. We talked about both of those.
Yeah.
Both of the projects look spectacular. I'm excited for them. And again, you've got Shazam, which is going to be more campy. Black Adam's going to be more grimdark.
Oh, yeah, wow. That you are definitely not wrong.
Oh
there.
no, yeah. The side by side comparison is ridiculous.
If you want to just throw it back to the...
It's your camera's still on.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, big difference.
Wasn't announced yet. Well,
That had to have been uncomfortable.
Armor Wars, I think he was talking about.
well, no, I thought that they announced Armor Wars back in 2019 as an upcoming project.
I don't know.
It just hasn't, just like
It was all a dream.
yeah. We got the first sneak peek for John Wick Chapter 4.
Excited for that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not excited for it. I'll probably watch it.
I will watch it.
Three jumped the shark pretty hard, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
1 and 2. 1 is still my favorite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
1
absolutely.
and 2 were both really good.
Like,
Yeah.
One
3 jumped the shark.
one is my absolute favorite because it feels the most personal for John.
Oh, I didn't realize this dropped.
Yo, what?
Baba Yaga.
National Treasure: Edge of History on Disney Plus.
No.
It can't be Nick Cage, can it?
It has to be. He's the flagship character.
Watch any of those.
And then this one, Sandman dropped. They
Mr.
dropped it.
Sandman.
And they announced that a while ago, right?
Yeah, that's been
No singing.
only I'm allowed to do this.
Only
thinking
Tony's
here.
allowed because
What?
we
No,
can't.
but
we
we're
can't,
both
we can't share
theater
the mic.
nerds.
But no, adaptation of Neil Gaiman's Sandman. I think this is coming relatively soon as
Yeah,
well.
I think so too. Yeah, because they announced that a while ago.
Yeah, I mean it's been in production. I'm hearing good things from the snippets that are coming out. It's Netflix. They've got a good track record. I just I don't want them to screw it up because I want to see more Neil Gaiman stuff.
Yeah.
Walking Dead season 11. Who
Is that
cares?
the final trailer?
Who cares?
Tales of the Walking
Tales
Dead.
of the Walking
Oh
Dead.
yeah, 'cause they
Terry
announced that
Crews.
what's her face and what's his face are coming back for
Michonne
something.
Michonne and Rick are going to come back for a 6-part miniseries. Where are they now?
And
Walking Dead edition.
Well,
They're in the void that is dead.
is it going to be forward or is it going to be backward?
Probably forward because they both disappeared from the main show.
Well, I know Rick did.
Right, she left to go find him.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, yeah. So that's what's going to happen. I'm very interested. I'm kind of interested in Tales from the Walking Dead just because Terry Crews.
Just
Oh,
because
yeah.
of Terry Crews.
I'll watch
Really
anything
the only
with Terry
thing
Crews.
that would be interested in. I'm kind of done with that. I love that, but I'm done with it.
Interview with the Vampire.
New October 2nd, new interview with the vampire.
I'm excited about
series.
that, but I'm going to have to get AMC Plus because that was my favorite. My wife and I read those when they first came out.
Really?
We were huge Anne Rice fans, and really, really.
I can see
loved
that
all
as
those.
Stacy. I never would have guessed that of you.
Yeah, well, the first one came out. The first interview, the Vampire book, was
Yeah.
iconic. I mean, that was super duper popular.
I never did read it.
And then, Vampire Lestat
Right.
gave you all of his background, and then Queen of the Damned. My wife read it and hated it, and I read it, and it was my favorite book. Just about my favorite book I ever read because it gives you the history of everything going back to Deb will probably know this, going back to Egypt. So
Yeah.
it gives you the history of, and then they did that horrible. The first movie was good. A lot of people didn't like Tom Cruise as Lestat. I thought he did fine.
I did too.
So I liked that movie. But then the next one with Stuart Townsend as Lestat, and it was what's her face as Queen of the Damned. She did a good job, but
Wasn't
the
that
movie,
Aaliyah?
yeah, and
Not to speak ill of the dead.
well, it wasn't her fault. I think she did a good job. Like I thought she was creepy and weird and,
Yeah.
and kind of cool, but the movie as a whole was awful.
Kind of like Henry Cavill as Superman.
And he was awful as Lestat. But
Oh God.
I fell into
I'm looking forward to this. Is my point.
I fell into a Superman subreddit, and it's very, very interesting. It's one of those things where I'm like, I saw one post, I'm like, oh, I'm going to post my thoughts. And then all of a sudden, every day, Reddit's like, new post in
you have
r/Superman.
52 new posts, yeah,
I'm like,
right.
I just because I made one comment doesn't mean would you like to find? But as a
Turn off
result,
notifications. You need to learn how to turn off notifications, right?
but
Yeah.
it's really kind of it's kind of hysterical going through there that there are very few people who are in the Superman subreddit who will defend anything Zack Snyder did with that character, which I find fascinating because there are so many Snyder bros out there who are like, oh, keep going with the Snyderverse. And I'm sitting there going this. I'm like, I'm not a super Superman fanboy, but I want the character to be right. And I'm like, there are so many people who think the way that I do on this. I don't feel alone in the universe anymore.
Yeah, that's how I feel about a lot of stuff when I find other people who share my opinions. Vindication.
That's what the internet is for.
Right.
To find your group.
Chucky season 2 is getting
Hell no.
got a new trailer.
Hell no.
Why not?
Stupid.
Dolls, man. When it comes to horror stuff, I draw the line at possessed doll.
Oh,
You are not showing me Chucky
That's funny.
under any circumstances.
have you watched Last Week Tonight from Sunday?
No.
Oh, you got to watch Last Week Tonight from last Sunday then.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Superhero.
Don't care. Don't watch that.
I'm with you on that.
Oh.
The new Beavis and Butthead.
Definitely in on the Beavis and Butthead.
I-
No.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Do you see the t-shirt that Beavis is wearing?
He besmirches the band.
Hey, Pantera. Hey, Pantera, can you go get us some pizza? I'm hungry.
What? Did that actually happen?
Yes. New He-Man and the Masters of the Universe Season 3. Is that the
What?
Kevin Smith one?
I don't know.
Because that doesn't look like a Kevin Smith animation, but okay. Resident Alien Season 2.
Oh, nice. That's the Alan Tudyk.
The Alan Tudyk Show.
Yeah.
Oh, Resident Alien. Got it.
Resident Alien. I did say
Yeah,
Resident
apparently
Alien.
there is actually a Resident Evil Netflix
I was
series.
gonna say, I
which-
thought that there was a new Resident Evil thing, which is
I've-
it's animated, right? Or is
no,
it
live action.
Oh, really?
And I have not heard good things about it.
Gotcha. I think
Like,
I think I started watching it and then didn't finish, which probably tells
From
you.
what I understand, most live action Resident Evil stuff is turning out bad.
Right.
Well,
Which
yeah.
is a shame, because like I feel like it's a simple concept. Throw it out.
You're absolutely right, but
Oh,
people.
that's
don't-
the Umbrella stuff. I did watch. I watched the first episode of that. Right.
Yeah.
It's a series, right?
yeah.
I think so.
And actually, I watched the first couple episodes of that. I think it's okay. It's not. What did one critic said? It felt like whoever's writing Resident Evil never played the game or read any of the material whatsoever.
Yeah.
But
like,
it's still good. I thought it was entertaining.
Yeah.
I kind of like where they're going with it. So we'll
like
see.
if it's a thing on its own, then it could be fine. But like as an adaptation, it probably doesn't do well.
Well, they definitely take it in a different direction. So.
Wait, are the lickers at least?
The what?
They're like the creatures that like don't have the eyes and they operate on sound.
We're
so
not
you have
that
to be
far yet.
Super quiet.
I'm not that far in it.
So if you want to know, go watch,
Have to
Joe.
watch it, right?
So they've got
All
they
right,
dropped a
become the
trailer
public curiosity.
for Rotten Tomatoes TV, which I didn't realize was a thing. Mythic Quest Season 3,
That looks like Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
and that's definitely Joe Manganiello. With some mocap
Mocap
dots
stuff, yeah.
and a big axe. So that's got to be some D&D
Yeah, I have
thing.
to figure that out.
Okay.
We have homework to do.
Crepopolis.
Haven't heard of it.
Okay.
Moving on.
Family Guy Season 21, don't care.
Season 3?
Yeah.
Well,
that's
I haven't heard of the first two seasons, so
Rotten Tomatoes TV again.
yeah.
Yep.
American Dad, don't care. Little Demon, don't care.
Vampire Academy. What?
Again on Rotten new
Right.
new show, Rotten
Right.
Tomatoes TV. So I guess we've gone from rating show. What happens when a Rotten Tomatoes show gets like a rotten score of like 5%?
Hey, you know what? IMDb already has its own streaming service. Why not Rotten
Right, right.
Tomatoes?
Meet the Bat Wheels. Cars. Oh, they're gonna get sued.
No.
Disney is
No.
right. And,
No.
and Marvel owns Marvel and Disney are owned by the same company.
Oh.
And Pixar. You have the Batmobiles as cars.
What's wrong with that? I'm so confused. I'm
Cars.
so
Like
confused.
the actual animated movie Cars that
Yeah.
Disney did.
Right.
This is a ripoff.
Well, you think they don't know that?
That doesn't mean they're not going to get sued.
Tony just discovered this. No,
Title Zone Dimension?
Okay.
SpongeBob?
SpongeBob movie.
Do we have to go through all of this, Tony?
Well,
I
we're
don't
just
think we need
about
to go
at the
through all
end.
of it.
New Transformers.
Getting
Close,
home at
man.
some point.
Ooh.
Moon Girl.
Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I knew this was coming.
She's
That-
a relatively new one, right?
No, she's been around for a couple of years.
Oh,
Barbarian.
don't know.
The Dragon Prince. We got.
Spence would be interested in that.
That's it.
I heard they're doing a new Avatar thing. Aren't they doing a new Avatar thing? And it's got
Wait,
it's
you
got
mean like
Aang
the?
and-
Oh, you mean like Last Airbender Avatar?
yeah.
I hate that we actually have to clarify that now because of the James Cameron
Oh,
thing.
wow, yeah.
But I don't know. I would actually
Yeah,
have to
I
look
heard.
into that.
I heard that it's a new something coming out, and it's got Aang and what's her face?
You mean Ong, right?
What'd I say?
I will end you.
Isn't it Aang?
He's going off to Shyamalan pronunciation. Dude.
Aang. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. I mean, I love
you have to
it.
look into that, Joe.
I love-
know that's up your alley.
I love the adventures of Ong and Uncle
Ong.
Hero.
Aang, Uncle Hero. That's right. On that note,
I love
No,
giving a crap
it's
about
Zuko and Uncle Hero.
it. No, Ong joins them,
Aang.
and
very
so
good.
does what is it, Sokka, right?
This hurts. Katara too.
Ahsoka Tani.
Toph.
Oh, that's so. That's,
Is it Ahsoka?
Honestly, I'm glad
Is
they
it-
never.
Is it Ahsoka Tani or is it Ahsoka Tani?
Tano.
Whatever.
oh,
We're just trying to
Well,
know you at this
yeah, I know.
Honestly, I am glad that the Shyamalan movie didn't get sequels because I would not have wanted to see him ruin Toph.
No, you didn't. You haven't seen Ruined on yet. So what are you worried about?
What do you mean? Wait, what?
You didn't watch that, did you?
Yes.
All the
I
way
did.
through, beginning to end. You didn't turn it
You
off.
told me to.
I did
Like,
tell him to. Yeah, well, he's like, everybody says it sucks. I'm like, well, you need to watch and determine for yourself.
I did. It sucks.
Good job.
That's
well
completely
done.
acceptable.
Well done.
All right, so I'm going to be on painting tomorrow night. I'm going to be giving Joey's buddy Quinn airbrushing lessons.
Assuming his schedule is free, yes.
Yes, going to be working on the AA5 speeder. Putting some comic books away. I'm trying to get a Whatnot get approved to sell on Whatnot so I can start selling some comics.
Whatnot.
Yeah, because I've been buying way too many of them and I need to get rid of some. I fell down a rabbit hole of variant cover, the Walmart variant covers with the, hey, buy 3 comics. We're going to give you 1 variant comic, but you're not going to know what the other 2 are, and they could be total crap or they could be worth a fortune.
Let me guess. They were all crap.
Not all. A lot of crap, but a lot of crap.
A lot of crap.
A lot of crap that I would never think to pick up.
Yeah.
But I've found a couple of real gems in there. It's like,
Sorry to interrupt.
then don't.
Okay.
What I was saying was, sorry to interrupt, but it's all right. I found a couple of like $20. I pay $8 a piece for them, and I
Right.
found a couple of $20 books.
That's nice.
I haven't had a point where I've lost money doing that.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase that. I haven't lost value. I lost money because I haven't sold a damn thing yet.
Yeah, because you still spent the money.
Yes.
So, yeah,
So the money's gone.
It's losing the money, right?
But if I can,
But you got value for it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now
Yes, Jay.
you may bring up a new point rather than interrupt me.
Actually, it's building off an old one, specifically the Avatar thing you mentioned. So apparently, according to CBR.com, there are actually 2 Avatar projects in the works: a prequel film and a spin-off series focusing on Prince Zuko.
Oh.
And actually, what interests me most is the prequel film, because I think it would be cool if they focused on another Avatar, like before Aang and Roku and all those guys. Mm-hmm. Like maybe we get an adaptation of Kyoshi's story. Or
I
something.
don't care about those guys.
I say you
want
go,
more Aang.
you go, if you're gonna do it, you do it right, and you jump like 400 years back to one you've never heard of, and you start the story fresh.
All right, there you go.
Yeah, that could work.
Quit connecting it. You got to quit connecting it to the current generations.
Right.
No more Luke Skywalker saga. Just find someone else to talk
Finally,
about.
For God's sake.
Anyway, so I'm going to be doing some work this weekend. I am headed out to Gen Con. If you're going to be out there, hit me up. We'll talk. Otherwise,
So probably
that's about
no
it.
podcast next week. I probably won't be able to do podcast next week. And the week after that, I'm on vacation. So
Okay.
FYI. You guys can't. But
Well,
you're
Well,
going to
Tuesday
Gen,
is
Gen
gonna
Con
be-
next weekend? Wait,
Gen Con, we leave a week from tomorrow.
a week from tomorrow. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is next week. Gotcha.
It
And
is,
then-
yeah.
And then after that,
Thanks, Deb.
like the week after, that's going to be our rest week. So we probably won't be podcasting then either.
Yeah, we might take a little bit of
Take a
time
late summer
off.
break and then
Yeah.
hit it again back in August.
Kind of like our D&D session,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Let's go here. Let me go to my stream manager. We're going to go raid somebody, though. We're going to drop in on somebody.
Also,
No,
I absolutely
stop
love the
that.
song playing in the background. I won't say what because copyright reasons, but it's good.
All right, let me see who's up and running right now. Finn McKinty, next level pending. Let's go say hi to Gel Tip. We love Gel Tip.
Hello, Gel Tip.
Well, he can't hear us yet.
Okay.
It will be shortly. He's got 4 people watching him, so we're going to double his viewership.
Well, hey.
Or like I like to call him, just the Gel Tip. Ooh, we're rating with 5.
Wow.
So thank you guys for joining us tonight. You guys have a great one. I'll be back tomorrow night painting up that AA5 speeder, and then probably take a couple of weeks off for Gen Con and recovery. So thanks for joining. Have a great one.
Also, I just realized I went this whole stream without saying the F word.
Good, because I want to start putting these on YouTube as well. And
Yeah. Well, I mean, we wouldn't be able to market them to kids anyway, so
You know why you did it?